Imagine your dreams were finally within reach. A perfect life, financial freedom, everything you've ever wanted. But it all came with one price: your dignity. What would you do? Now imagine it's your own husband asking you to make that sacrifice. For a woman we'll call Blessing, this isn't just a question, it's her painful reality. Welcome to Anonymous Diaries. I'm your host, Evelyn. Tonight's story is about a shocking request that shook the foundation of a marriage. This story, as always, has been recreated to protect the privacy of the real individual involved. Before we listen to our narrator, kindly like the video and click the subscribe button to encourage us to keep posting. Thank you. Now, let's listen to Blessing.
My name is Blessing, and until last week, I thought I had a happy marriage. My husband, Ben, and I, we don't have much, but we have always had each other. We live in a small 2-room apartment where the paint is peeling and the plumbing is always acting up, but it's our home. We've spent the last 5 years dreaming together, dreaming of a day when we wouldn't have to count every kobo, a day we could afford a small car, maybe even start saving for a down payment on a piece of land. Ben is a good man, or at least I always thought he was. He works so hard at his marketing job, always trying to get ahead, always talking about giving me a better life. I've always admired his ambition. I work as a receptionist and my small salary helps, but the weight of our future has always rested heavily on his shoulders. I see the stress in his eyes when the rent is due or when our old generator breaks down again. His boss, Mr. Adekunle, is a man who has always made my skin crawl. He's rich, powerful, and carries himself like he owns the world and everyone in it. At the few company parties I've attended with my husband, his eyes would always linger on me for a little too long. He'd make comments about how lucky Ben was. I always dismissed it as him just being a typical rich man, and I would hold Ben's hand a little tighter. Last Tuesday, Ben came home from work earlier than usual. The moment he walked through the door, I knew something was different. He was glowing. He had a huge, beaming smile on his face that I hadn't seen in years. He lifted me up and spun me around right there in our small living room. "We did it, babe! We finally did it!" he shouted, his voice full of pure joy. He told me that Mr. Adekunle had called him into his office and offered him a massive promotion. He was being made a senior manager. He started listing everything that came with it: a salary triple what he was earning, a new company car, and a housing allowance that would let us move into a beautiful flat in a nice part of town. It was everything we had ever prayed for. I burst into tears of joy. We held each other and cried and laughed. The years of struggle finally felt worth it. Our future, which had always seemed so far away, was suddenly right there in front of us. We spent the next hour dreaming. We talked about the car we would get, the neighborhood we would live in. We planned a vacation. The weight that we had both carried for so long was finally gone. Then, as we were sitting on the sofa, his smile faded a little. He got quiet. "What is it?" I asked, my own happiness starting to waver. He took a deep breath and wouldn't look me in the eye. He said, There's one condition for the promotion." I was confused. A condition? Like he had to work on weekends or maybe travel more? "Okay," I said. "What is it?" He stared at the floor, and when he finally spoke, his voice was a whisper. "Mr. Adekunle, he wants you to have dinner with him. He wants you to spend one night with him at a hotel." The words just hung there in the air. I think I laughed at first because it sounded like the sickest joke I had ever heard. But when I looked at Ben's face, he wasn't joking. He was dead serious. The joy and laughter from a few moments ago vanished, replaced by a cold, sickening silence. The room felt like it was closing in on me. I waited for him to get angry. I waited for him to say, "Don't worry, I told him to go to hell. I would never let him disrespect you like that." I waited for the man I married, my protector, to show up. But he never did. Instead, a stranger sat there beside me. He finally looked at me, his eyes pleading. He said, "Blessing, please, just think about it. It's just one night. One night for a lifetime of security." He said it's just a test, a final show of loyalty. It doesn't have to mean anything to us. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I felt the blood drain from my face. I said, "What are you saying, Ben? Are you asking me to do this?" He moved closer and tried to take my hand, but I pulled it away. He said, "I'm asking you to think about our future. Think about the life we could have. No more struggling. We could finally have children and send them to the best schools. This one sacrifice could give us everything we have ever wanted." Sacrifice, he called it. A sacrifice. Like it was my duty. I looked at the man I loved, the man I had built a life with, and I felt nothing but disgust. He wasn't just considering it. He was encouraging it. He was willing to trade me, my body, my dignity for a promotion. In that moment, the man I married disappeared. He was no longer my partner. He was a salesman, and I was the product he was trying to sell. I haven't really spoken to him since then. I sleep on the sofa. The air in our small apartment is thick with my disgust and his disappointment. He looks at me with sad, pleading eyes, like he can't understand why I am throwing away our perfect future. He still brings me my morning tea, but his touch feels dirty. His presence makes me feel sick. I feel so betrayed and so lost. The man I promised to spend my life with thinks so little of me that he would hand me over to another man for a better salary. So I have to ask you, because I don't know what to do. Is this marriage already over? Is this a side of who he truly is? A man whose ambition is more important than his wife? Or is there any part of the man I loved left to save? Please, if you were in my shoes, would you walk away for good or stay?
Thank you, Blessing, for sharing that with us. I think we can all agree that was truly disturbing. The one person meant to protect you chose to use you instead. He didn't just make a bad choice. He showed a part of himself that's selfish and deeply disappointing. Her husband has shown her exactly what she is worth to him when money and status are on the line. The question is, can she ever forget that? Can a marriage recover when one person views the other as a stepping stone? So I'm putting her question to you, our community. Do you walk away from this marriage immediately, or is there anything left here to save? Please head to the comments. She needs clarity, and she needs to know she's not alone in her disgust. Join us again next time on Anonymous Diaries. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.